Start recording. All right, so let me turn this back on. Whenever you hit, and this is what you put in your notes. Edit, stat, and edit. When you hit the stat button and the edit, you're basically opening up the spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet. Just think of this as an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, you put any numbers you want to. The first column is considered the X column. The second column is considered the Y column. So I'm going to put another set of data in. I'm just going to change the Y's. I'm going to change it to 3, 5, 7, 12, and 15. Okay, so at that point, when you hit the stat key again and exit, it automatically saves what you just put in. Now I can go to second, hit the second button up in the top left-hand corner, and stat plot, which is in the top left-hand corner under the screen. Now when you hit enter on either one of these, number 1, 2, 3, or 4, you're basically going in to that stat plot. It's like opening a file drawer. And when you hit the on button, when you hit enter on the on button, that means you're turning it on. Now you can go to graph, which is right here on the right hand side. And there is your graph. Now, to make sure you get all of the points, hit the zoom key and hit number 9, I believe, which is zoom stat, which means zoom statistics. There they are. Now you should be able to do all of that, and if you're a little bit rusty or you haven't done it before, just play with it. We're going to do that a couple of times today because I felt the need to go over this because, you know, when you go into correlation and causation, you have to understand the whole point behind a linear regression, and you have to understand the whole point of a slope and a line and all that good stuff. So that's why I'm going over this instead of continuing with correlation. So now I want to find out about this line. So I hit zoom, calculate, and go down to number 4, which means linear regression. Y is equal to mx plus b. And hit enter. The calculator is defaulted to read the first and the second columns. Now you can change those. I don't know why you would, because it's easier just to go back and change the actual points. But if you wanted to do a shortcut and say, well, I'll just punch in the third column and the fourth column, then you designate the third column as your X and your fourth column as your Y, and you put L3 and L4 right here. And then you go down to calculate and hit enter. Now, what is this information right here? Well, this information is basically what you calculated back in your algebra days. Okay? You remember your Y is equal to mx plus b? Well, it's the same thing. But of course, if it ain't broke, fix it. Teach it one way, and then when you get to another class, put it in another form. All right? I don't agree with that, so I'm just going to go over that right now for you. Make sure y'all can see my whiteboard, right? I'm going to make it, since it's so bright up there, I'm going to make my line just a little bit darker. Well, yeah, I was going to make it a little bit darker. I don't know, that may be too much. Y, well, it's not going to do it. Y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. That's called the point-slope equation. Y'all should remember some of this. Okay? The point-slope equation, when you solve for y, no, y. That's not it. Let me go here. Let me see if, I think I have to turn it there. If you solve this, you get y is equal to mx plus what? b. Now, in statistics, of course, they change everything. Your a is right here, and your b is right here. They didn't change it, so it's still b. So we could rewrite this line. The line that you have is y is equal to 1.55 x minus 0.9. And that is your regression. Now this is the line of regression. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Basically, the line that is a best what? Best fit. There we go. Y'all can see that better probably. Because that up there is kind of bright to me. I don't know if y'all can see the thin lines as good as you can see these dark lines. So that's why I made them a little bit thicker. Now, let's go back a little bit and talk about what this is right here. This guy right here, what is that? Somebody tell me what that is? That's your what? That's your slope. A positive slope means left to right up. A negative slope means left to right what? Down. So that M is going to, or that A is going to be your slope. Now, that is one thing that the correlation coefficient and the slope have in common. If the correlation coefficient is positive, that means it's going left to right up, just like the slope. If the correlation coefficient is negative, that means it's going left to right down, which means the slope is negative. So those two have a lot in common. The increase is also, but the thing is, your slope will go above 1 and negative 1, where your correlation coefficient usually does not. Okay? So, anyway, what about this guy? Well, let's change our handy-dandy highlighter. That guy, what's that called? Anybody remember? It's called the Y-Intercept, or the vertical shift. That's where it crosses the what? Where it crosses the y-axis. Now again, all of this should be, oh yeah, I remember that back in pre-algebra or algebra 1. So when you get this, we know now that 1.55 is our slope. Well, the correlation coefficient does not go above 1. So that's where you see a little bit of difference between the slope and the, what was our correlation coefficient? 0.98? Or what was it? Did we pull it up? Yeah, Hubert. No, Hubert. I have no idea, Hubert. That's all right, class. Thanks for the interaction. 0.98. Well, Hubert, the slope is 1.55. Again, that's where I told you the slope is not. The slope is going to go over 1 and below negative 1. The correlation coefficient is not. All it's telling you is there correlation. Yes or no? If it's a 0, no. If it's toward negative 1, yes. If it's toward positive 1, yes, there is a correlation. Does correlation mean causality? Yes. Does causality mean correlation, or vice versa? All right? Remember, I can take a poll of people committing suicide and people watching Nicolas Cage movies. They both show that it shows correlation. But does that mean that if you watch a Nicolas Cage movie, you're going to commit suicide? Okay. So what does that have? That has correlation, but no what? Causation. But I drink too much wine, I have to what? P, that comes from the matrix. I didn't say that. All right. So nobody complain. All right. That has correlation, but it also has what? Causality, because if you drink too much, you got to go pee. And you got to realize that correlation, while it does intend causation, does not automatically mean causation. Because that's where you start to, what's the A word? Assume. And we all know what assuming does. Right? Okay. So any questions? How about this? Easily, since y'all are so loud and don't listen. Any questions on the kind of a review of slope? Because I'm going to take it to the next step. Y'all good?
We're good.
All right. Next thing we're going to go over. What if you're given 2 points? How can you be given 2 points, Hubert? Well, you can be given 2 points like this. In other words, I give you 2 points, and I put the points here like 2, 2, and 4, 4. In other words, everything's given to you. Or I can give you a line, and it's on a piece of graph paper on the background, and you find 2 points. So I can give you 2 points. Or you have to what 2 points? Find the 2 points. Or I give you 2 points like this. Those are the 3 type problems you'll see. And I'll ask you to calculate the slope. This one, you use this point and this point. Which way do we read? Unless you're from the Middle East, Masalama. If you are from around here, you're going to read from left to right. So this is your first set of points. That's your x of 1, y sub 1. And this is your x of 2, what? Y sub 2. This is your x of 1, y sub 1. This is your x of 2, y sub 2. Simple as that. Don't make it difficult. We're not reinventing the wheel. So you read from left to right. So this is your x of 1, y sub 1. This is your x of 2, y sub 2. The formula for calculating the slope is vertical over horizontal, or the change in the vertical over the change in the horizontal, or y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And I tell students the first thing you do when you rewrite this is you put parentheses minus parentheses over parentheses minus parentheses. Now, of course, I have several degrees, and if you walked into my office tomorrow and asked me to do a homework problem for your grandson, uncle, cousin, sister, whatever you want me to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write those 4 sets of parentheses. But I have several degrees, okay? I know you don't need the parentheses because you have how many degrees? But y'all students in general, not y'all. But students don't write those parentheses because they don't what? But if you come into my office, I use them. Why? 2 reasons I use parentheses. Why? Negatives. And those things that y'all can't do no matter what you say. What are those things that y'all can't do? Starts with F. Fraction. Okay? Those are the 2 reasons I put those parentheses. And if you walk into my office tomorrow and ask me a homework question, not pertaining to this, but, I mean, in other words, you could walk into my office 2 years from now and ask me to calculate the slope. First thing I'm going to do is this right here. And I have several degrees. What am I trying to say? Use the damn parentheses. That's what I'm trying to say. Because the first time you get one wrong, you're going to come up to me and say, I just can't get this right. I just can't get this right. First thing I'm going to ask you is what? Did you use parentheses? No. Okay, DA, go back and use the parentheses. I mean, that I'm so used to that. The first thing y'all do is, just like remember telling y'all a while back, use steps. Use steps. Here's the blue lines on your notebook paper, and Billy Bob tries to do 15 steps right here equals 4. He tries to do all those 15 steps right there between the blue lines. Same thing with this. If you're going to miss this problem, it's going to be because you didn't use the parentheses. Something as basic as parentheses. All right, so let's take, I'm going to make up two points. 2, 2, and 5, 8. So, which way do we read? Left to right. X of 1, y sub 1, x of 2, y sub 2. Y sub 2 is 8. Y sub 1 is what? 2. X of 2, 5. X of 1, 2. What's 8 minus 2? What's 5 minus 2? Reduce. 2 over what? Why do I not change it into a solid 2 right now? Because what is slope? Vertical over what? Horizontal. So I leave it so I know that I've got 2 vertical shifts over 1 horizontal shift. Okay, again, it is this, everybody, and I'm not going to go over another one of these because everybody should be saying to themselves, oh yeah, I remember that. So everybody should know how to do this also. Now, let's talk about regression. Best fit. And I'm just going to be and this, I'm not even going to go through the formula. You don't want me to go through the formula. You remember any of this, Chad?
No.
Okay. He don't want to go through the formula either, okay? Because it is a very long, very tedious mathematical formula. In other words, you have to take, what you're doing is you're trying to find, and you have to put I'm going to put the red line in here. Well, it's supposed to be a straight line, but anyway. All right, I put a line in there that red line represents a line of regression. Okay? And I'm going to take the green line here. I'm going to take a green straight line, and I'm going to draw a line from each one of those points. I asked for a chalkboard because this stuff is just too complicated. If you look at the red lines, those green lines. If you look at the green lines, those green lines represent what that formula, if you look at it, you're calculating. You're finding, and I'm going to go into it one step deeper, but that's as far as I'm going because I don't want to mess y'all up. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the straight line. And I'm going to draw a blue line from that point, from these points, there, 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 there. That one's a little bit crooked, but y'all get it. Everybody with me? Everybody see what I'm doing? You're taking all of these X's and Y's, and you're basically plugging them in that formula, and you're finding the best fit for the red line. Does that make sense for everybody? That's what you're doing. You're taking the X and Y's, and I'm just going to draw this first point here. This is X sub 1, and this is Y sub 1. I'm drawing with a straight line, so the 2 is not going to look, it's not going to, X sub 2, so it's not going to do right. And then the Y sub 2 is going to be right here. You just put a 2 there. Let me go over here. Put a 2 there and a 2 there. Okay? And if you look in your book, anybody got a book in here? Well, it sucks anyway, so don't worry about it. If you have a book, you'll see a formula in there that's got a x sub 1 squared, and then y sub 1 squared, all divided by blah, 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 x sub 1 quantity squared, all that good stuff. That's the formula that they want you to use to find this line. Okay? And I'm not even going to do it. Why? Because we have stat plot and linear regression. Everybody with me? All right? So instead of, and usually, and Miss Grant can testify to this, Mr. Tucker can testify to this. When I think there's something important that you should know to do by hand, I'll make you do it by hand, and then I'll show you on a calculator how to do it, don't I? Okay? If it's important, okay? Nobody in their right mind is going to ask you, well, I really would like to see you calculate the least line of regression for this set of data. Nobody is going to ask you to do that by hand. Nobody. All right? And nobody's going to ask you to program that in a calculator either. So therefore, I'm not going to show you how to do that, and it's too tedious to do it, so I'm not going to show you. So this is where the very few times you're going to hear me say the calculator wins out. Know how to use your calculator on this, okay? What should you be able to do? One, you should be able to plug in points. Plug in your points in L1 and L2. Two, sorry about that, guys, I forgot. Let me make it thicker. No. There we go. It's 2. 2 black. There we go. 2. Make sure you can plot that line. All right? Make sure you can plot it, and we're gonna get to that in just a minute. And 3, make sure you can find the linear regression. Y is equal to mx plus b. And of course the correlation coefficient. Is there a correlation here? Yes. There is a correlation because it's going left to right up. All right? Now, a while ago, or the last time we met, I told you
10 tomorrow.
Yeah. I think so. 10.
You get a class at 10:30. So
I think it's 10:15.
Like here around 10.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, just come in whenever. See you, bud. All right. That's our history in the Polycom form. So we're extended from one class, Huber, to now we're teaching speech, history, psychology, and I think there's one more class. And all my classes in the fall are going to be Polycom. So we're expanding slowly. Hopefully by 2025, Tri-County will be technologically up to date. Forcefully, very forcefully. Let's say we're talking about weight of the vehicles versus gas mileage. Okay? And I told you that we have a bunch of points. Like that. And that the basically the question would say, find the line of regression. Now, you could eyeball it, and most of the time your eyeballs will treat you right. Because if I was to draw a line of regression on this one, I would draw it probably somewhere right along there. Now I want everybody to look at that and see if your eyeballs come up with the same thing. You're trying to find a pattern, all right? And that red line represents that pattern, a tendency of correlation, okay? So what I'm trying to say is it's going to be hard for y'all. I don't care how dumb you think you are. It's going to be hard for y'all to do this. Okay, I really don't think you're going to be able to do that. Although there are some people that can break an anvil with a banana, I really don't think you're going to do that. So some of these problems, you need to let your eyes tell you where it is, because they will do it if you let them. Okay? And then they'll ask you to find, now how do you do that? Well, you have to get each one of these points and you have to put them in the calculator. All right? So, with that, let's look at another example. And I'm just going to, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some points on the board. I'm going to let y'all do it. Okay? So, 2, 5, 4, 7, 5, 8, 7, 10, 9, 15, and 11, 20. All right, I want you to do everything on the calculator. The only thing I want you to write down is those points. Now, if you don't have a graphic calculator, just share or just put it in between y'all and just try to, let each of you look at it, okay? If you don't have a graphic calculator, try to pull one up on your computer. I don't know if you can or not, but Wabbit is it Wabbit WABBITEMU.com. I think you can actually get a graphic calculator, but you might have to pay for it. I know on our what do you call them things? Not the iPhones, but my phone? What's mine called? Not iPhone. Android. Android. You used to go to Wabbit EMU and wasn't no charge for them, but I don't know if they still charge you for them or not. What'd you find? Where'd you find it? It's what? Metacalculator.com. Okay, somebody might want to write down www.meta-calculator.com. Meta as in META, metacalculator.com. That's a nice little setup that she just pulled up. Very smart student, very, very good, gifted, talented student.
Not really.
Okay, you saw.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
And look up Wabbit, like that crazy Wabbit, WABBITEMU.com. Graphic calculator. There it is. Ain't that nice? Probably a Russian hack. They're probably going to get into your computer and tell you how to vote. Can't go against plantation. You got to vote the way they tell you to. All right. So I'm going to take my handy dandy calculator and see if this will work. Oh, only reason I don't use. There we go. All right. So I'm going to type in. I'm going to go to Stat, Edit, And I'm going to type in my X and Y. I'm just going to type in my X's first. 2, 4, 5, 7. This thing is aggravating to use up here, so y'all just bear with me. Because if I don't do it exactly right, it pulls the calculator down. There's the backspace. I suck at using a calculator because I don't use it very often. And I'll go over to here. See, just did it. 5, 7, 8, 10, 15, and 20. Everybody got those? Yes, no, maybe, easily, we good?
We good.
All right, now, I want you to plot it. So, here we go. Second, stat plot. Second, stat plot. Plot on. And I'm just going to go down to graph. Make sure everything's turned on. I'm going to hit zoom. 9. And there's my point. So I want you right now, pick up your pencil. I want you to draw that, sketch it. You don't have to label the X and Y axis. Just draw a representation of those dots in your. And you might want to use kind of like half the page as a graph so you can have a lot of room because we're going to do something else after we do this. So make the graph about 4 by 4, 4 inches by 4 inches or something like that, so it'll be big enough in your notes. And if you want to label your X and Y axis and draw those points, do that. That's fine. So I'm going to take my handy dandy my handy dandy virtual graph, and I'm going to draw 2 and 5, 2 and 5, 4 and 7, 5 and 8, and those 3 are in line, and the 4th is in line, and then I've got one that's going up like that, and I'm just going to draw, looks like that right there or something. Okay? Now, if I was to draw a real light line, probably the line of regression is probably going to go something like that. That red line, you can barely see it. But we're not going to rely on us. We're going to rely on the calculator to do it. So now we're going to hit Stat, Calculate, Linear Regression, and go down to Calculate. Write all that information down. I would say round to the second place value, just like you do with dollars and cents. That's always a good rule to remember. And then I want you to write the line of regression. Y is equal to mx plus b. Did it figure it?
I'm just going to leave it.
Huh? Well, I'm going to come back there and look, see if it is it able to.
Does your calculator give you R? The R. I don't know if mine's right. The R, I got 97. I just was right. I don't know what I did on the other, and I don't know how to get back there.
I want to see. Check that out. Check out the calculator. Install calculator online. Download free. You might be able to do that. I'm just saying, play with it. I don't know.
So which one did you press? When you went to the calculate? 4 linear RAG.
All right. So the line.
That's still not doing this.
So this is Y is equal to, what's my 1.65? 1.65x plus 0.38.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that is the formula for my red line. But I don't know what the red line looks like because I just threw up a guesstimate. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to y is equal right here. And we're going to type in y is equal to, well, it's already there, is equal to 1.65x plus 0.38. And graph. Oh my gosh, look at there. It's a miracle. And there's your line of regression. So I wasn't too far off. I was below this point right here. I was below that point right here. And then I was through the middle of the third and the fourth point. Okay, there's my point's a little bit off from there. So I think. Oh, look, I almost hit this point right there. And look at here. Or is that? Or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So did my eyes lead me wrong? No. Problem is, you got to let your eyes do it and not doubt it. Okay? And the only way you do that is if you do this. Okay, there's my line. I mean, like I say, some of y'all can do it, but it takes it's very difficult to draw that blue line going against 5 points. Okay? Unless you're just one of those people that can break an anvil with a banana. Some of y'all probably have looked up anvil because half of y'all probably don't even know what an anvil is. But anyway, it's the thing that always falls on the coyote's head. Everybody knows what that is, right? It's not a rock. It's that metal thing that always falls on the coyote's head. And if you don't know who the coyote is, then your parents, it's their fault. Okay? It's their fault. Okay, so have y'all seen Jurassic World?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my son went to see it last night.
Was it good?
Yeah. Kind of long
I don't care about
for
that.
me. But I'm what do you call it, ADD type?
Was long.
It's still.
I mean, if Michael Myers ain't killing somebody soon, I'm like, okay, come on, Michael, let's put it in high gear. But it was on a scale of 1 to 5, but I can't really judge that movie because it's not my type of movie. So I'd probably give it a 6 or 7. But I think I probably scored a little bit low. It depends on if you're a Jurassic fan or not. I personally still like the first one. Yeah, I like the first one. If I had a choice between watching all 4 of them, I'd watch the first one.
The first it wasn't, but it was pretty good. Yeah.
So now between the two Lost Worlds, the first one was the better one.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It was good.
Yeah. But I didn't like it better than the first Jurassic Park. Even though you had all the computer, the first Jurassic Park to me was just the best
I
one.
like the graphics better, the way they did it.
The what?
Graphics.
Oh yeah, the graphics are getting better every day. But and I'm bringing some education, I'm bringing some history into this because I watch the History Channel and Discovery Channel a lot. Do you know that they're actually finding out now that the dinosaurs were not just green?
No kidding.
They had bright colors on their faces and stuff, like war paint and stuff like that. I mean, they're actually. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that, Aisley? You actually see some of that in this movie because the guy that's the expert on dinosaurs, I can't think of his name, is one of the people that do the dinosaurs on this movie. He's kind of like the foregoing expert.
Chinese guy.
No, it's not him. It's the older guy. He does a lot of excavation in South Dakota and Utah and all them places out there. He does a lot of the. I can't think of his name right now, but he was the one that's discovering that the
Triceratops?
Yeah. Triceratops actually has the male, just like the peacock, and he's talking about the males. The males had the bright orange and bright yellow, the shell around their head. It was all colored in yellow and green and stuff. I mean, yellow and orange. So, but guys can't do that today, so what do? They put smokestacks on their truck. Okay, so we won't go there. We won't go there at all because I could talk a whole hour on that. But anyway, all right. Dang old $10,000 worth of stuff on a $1,000 car. Run, women, run as fast as you can. All right. Have you ever seen a guy with sunglasses on in the gym? Run, run, run. That's a future domestic violent person. I'm serious. Because all you got to say is one thing and just set them off. All right, so let's do another one. Y'all got me saying that on tape. I don't mind, it's true. I'm 90% sure of that. All right, here we go. Let's do a nerd. I'm gonna put some fractions on this one. Well, you don't have to. I'll put decimals. So then this is where the calculator really is helpful. So 0.5. Let's go with 0.5, comma 1.25. 2.6, comma 5.7. 6, let's see, that'd be 3. Let's go 3.2, comma 7.1. And I'll just do 4 points. 4.5, comma 8.2. Now is when you're going to really appreciate the calculator. Now guys, y'all also have some indicators too. Y'all ever seen Oompa Loompa?
Yes.
Okay,
Sadly.
orange face and a white neck. Run. That's the major indicator. Run.
What? Major indicator of what?
Psycho witch. Orange face and a white neck. Run. Fast as you can. Or if their face is darker than their neck, how about that? Run.
How do you get what?
You go to Y equals right here, type in the equation that you get.
The light.
So I'm going to take my handy dandy graphing calculator and I'm going to put those in. Stat, edit, 0.5. And I usually don't want y'all to be on the calculator drill team, but in 4.1 and 4.2, I want everybody to be on the calculator drill team. Calculator drill team, that's people that can do their synchronized cover of their calculator. When they say, get out your calculator, they go, shh, shh, shh. It's kind of like the drill team in the Marine Corps.
Did you only get 3 points?
They name their calculator and give it a little lay on at night,
Okay, the second.
but they can't tell you how to spell mom backwards.
Yeah, and then enter, then graph, and home,
What?
and then graph.
You know, y'all all seen that person at the cash register.
Yeah.
Give them 6 cents, $1.56, and to give them $2.06, and their brain explodes. I wouldn't do that on purpose, would I?
Yours can?
Probably.
Any chance I
Just
get.
to mess with them.
Yep, because they shouldn't be on the cash register. If I owned a business, which I will never own a business because I can't deal with the public, I would never, if a person couldn't make change, would you put them on a cash register?
That's why a lot of people don't work at
I'll tell you one thing, QT has done to the gas stations what Target did to retail. QT is smart. They have taken marketing from Walgreens and Dollar General and Walmart and Target, and they've taken that marketing. And
So the numbers are the
very
same.
smart.
Just get it a graph.
Yeah.
And they make people wear uniforms and have all their teeth
What?
that work.
Amen.
It's very, very nice to have that,
Only got 3.
Not be on meth, while they're working. It's kind of nice to have that. All right, so stat plot. Second, stat plot. And just go through and hit that, and then go through and hit graph.
You only got 3.
And I need to go through and erase the previous one, so clear that, and hit zoom 9. All right, so draw a little bit of a sketch of that graph. Now, where is your line of regression by eyesight going to go? Somebody describe where your line's going to go.
I like that on 4.
Yeah.
It's going to go between the first and the fourth point and the second and the third point, isn't it? It's going to kind of like bisect them. It's going to kind of like go right through here. Oops, so well, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Mine it goes before.
That's
All right, so now I'm going to hit the calculate button. So we're going to go to stat, calculate, and hopefully this is about the third or fourth problem we've done this. Some of y'all are going, oh, I know how to do this now. Or you're saying that you're going to quit after you get out of class. Drop. There we go. All right, write down that information. Just write down the correlation coefficient because that's what they're going to ask you for, 0.98. And here is your y is equal to 1.76 x plus 0.74. I need somebody to graph that. You'll graph that in your calculators so you can see what the line looks like. And let's see if it falls between the first and the fourth and the second and third like my eyeball said it would. So y is equal to 1.76 x plus 0.74.
I got 0.71.
Dang old.
What is over?
It's going between the first and the fourth and the second and the third.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Now, is there a correlation? Yes, 0.98. Does that mean causality? Okay, that's a yes or no question. I want y'all to interact.
I didn't graph that way either.
Does that mean causality? Yes, Hubert. No, Hubert. Thank you, class.
Mine did
Yes or
that.
no? Does that mean causality? I heard, I need to hear yes or I need to hear no. Does that mean causality? Okay, you're wrong and should quit school.
I figured I'd be wrong. Said something.
Actually, you said no a while ago, didn't you?
I did.
I just heard mumble. It sounded like,
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, if y'all answer me like that all the time, if I saw y'all out in public and I asked you a question, you I just walk away. I wouldn't even talk to you. You got to hear some of my voicemails. I don't even listen.
I don't know. Is it
Articulate and volume. Two primary things needed in communication. All right, so what discerns causality? What tells you as a student as a presenter, as a presentee, somebody presenting statistics or probability to you, what discerns causality? What tells you that something has causality? It's not numerical, it's not mathematical. What tells you? Common. F, common sense. Yes, common sense. What do you have to do after you look at the correlation coefficient, and you look at the slope of the line, and you look at the line of regression? Does something just pop out of the calculator and say, yeah, there's causality here? Ask yourself, what causes causality? I mean, what tells you causality? It's the context of the question. And it's kind of, I'm not saying it's philosophical, but it's kind of common sense. All right? Think of it. Is there causality between the weight of a vehicle and the gas mileage? Okay, and if you think about it, you know, in the Marine Corps, you have to be able to hump an Alice pack full of gear and a M16 or 60 cal or a SAW or whatever when I was a 60 gunner. All right, so you have to hump at least 5 miles with a pack and a 60, okay, with you. Now, why did they pick the big guy? Okay, think about it. Why didn't they pick little Bobby over here that weighs 97 pounds? Why did they pick the big guy? Think about it. The reason I'm saying that is because with the truck, you've got to use common sense and context. If a big truck, you know, a big truck is heavier, it's going to get less gas mileage. Context. A lot of times in probability and statistics, it's not whether you can add or subtract. It's whether you have common sense or you have context to extract information out of the problem. Okay? And a lot of times, the same thing in accounting. How many of you had accounting? Easily, have any of y'all had accounting?
I had accounting.
Okay. How about in here? Anybody had accounting? Okay, I didn't see who said that. Who said that? In a bit easily. Who said that?
Selena.
Okay. Last name. I go by last names.
What's your last name?
Bastito.
Bastito.
Okay. All right. Do you know why people fail accounting? 2 reasons. Reading comprehension, and they don't know the vocabulary terms. You can talk to any accounting teacher, and what will they tell you is the easiest part of accounting? The math. Because it's what? Adding and what? Subtracting. But the problem is you don't know what to add or subtract because you don't know the vocabulary and you can't read the dang question. Now, what I mean you can't read the dang question. Everybody in here can read.
Yeah.
Can't understand it. That's why people fail accounting. Now, you tell me, Miss Selena, I'm going to say Miss Selena if that's okay with you. Okay? Because the last name kind of melted you down, so I'm just going to say Miss Selena. All right. What did the accounting teacher, when you took accounting, did they say anything about that, or did they just say everybody was going to make an A in the class, or what? Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
She said
You're not sure?
It would be very hard.
She said the class would be very hard.
Well, let me ask you this, Miss Selena. Do you have to learn the terminology or the vocabulary before you're able to use the math in there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, same thing here. You can't do so what I'm going to do now is we're going to go to the homework because I have no earthly idea what time it is because I have all this technology. Okay, there's the watch down there. Okay, I'm going to go to the handy-dandy homework. Now that I've got I had to get IT to come in here to update my browsers. Did everybody get that? Did everybody understand what I just said? I had to get IT to come in here and update these browsers.
So that you had to get them to do
I had
that.
to call them to do that, yes. I just want to know if anybody picked that up. All right, so where's my handy dandy? I'm going to use this one. No, I better use this because I'm going through. No, I'll use Chrome. And hopefully it won't blow up. tct.mylabsplus.com. How about Hereditary? Anybody seen it yet?
No.
Yeah, it's a scary movie. I think it's called Hereditary. Is it Hereditary? I think it's called.
It is. Is it already out?
I think so. Because Fire Stick hasn't got it yet. Because I keep looking at it. It don't come up yet. I'm scared. I tell you, the way the movies have sucked lately, I'm scared to spend money on a movie.
Well, you know, if you go give blood with the blood connection, they'll give you 2 free movie tickets for any movie that and it doesn't expire.
I don't give blood. I'm part Russian.
I did it the other day.
I can't give blood.
I'm a
No, I'm not Russian. I'm Irish, but they probably say I'm Russian. Let's see. What am I looking for? Main menu. That's it.
My whole family donated. We got 8 movie tickets.
Why'd you pass out? I wanted free movie tickets.
I got stabbed for a movie ticket.
I wanted free movie tickets. I gave 4 pints of blood.
It's worth the sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's what they all say. It lets you pass out.
Yeah, exactly.
I passed out in the mall.
All right, here we go.
It was awesome.
All right, now we're going to do Excel spreadsheet because I don't want to have to type this in a calculator. Go ahead and write these down in your notes, though, so you'll have a homework question that you can put in your calculator. Write those down. I don't think I'm able to make those bigger because I'm inside of something else. Try and see if it'll make it bigger. Y'all tell me if this makes it bigger easily. I don't think it will, but no, I don't think it will. First of all, where'd it go? No, it didn't. No. Sorry guys, you're just going to have to strain your eyeballs or move to where you can see it. Now, what I will do for you, I can do this, is I'm going to hit my little icon right here that says, put this in Excel so you don't have to work as hard. And now, I can pull it up and let y'all see it better. This is where you want to use Excel instead of working extra hard on your calculator. There you go. I'm going to show y'all a trick I learned in the war. Take this dang old right here, dang old insert, dang old scatter plot. Ain't that neat? So if you was to plot those, that'd be what you get. So I want y'all to draw a sketch of that graph, so you can draw where the dots are, so you'll know what it looks like when you put it in your graph.
You got to do a scatter plot on Excel. Oops.
Now, if you right click on one of those, add trend line. So write that down in your notes. Right click on one of the dots. If you do this in Excel, right click on one of the dots on the graph and go down to add trend line. And when you do that, you're going to get what? Line of regression. And it's going to be a linear. Go down to the bottom and display equation, display R squared values. Oh gosh, look at there. Ain't that neat? and there is your line of regression. Now, somebody take 0.9532 and raise it to the 1/2 power for me. Or take the square root of 0.95382. And somebody tell me what you get. So is there correlation? Yes or no? Yes. 0.95 means that there is correlation. All right? What type of slope we have? A negative slope, but that doesn't mean you don't have correlation. It just means there's correlation. Now, is there causality? What are we doing? Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing the one I pulled up. I used as an example. We're doing miles per gallon versus what? Weight. So now you can say, is there causality? And you can say 90, what'd you say? What was the correlation? You got a 98% confidence interval that there is causality between the miles per gallon and the weight. What else did we not do on this problem that you usually do with statistics? What did I not do on this problem? I didn't put anything in what? In order. Remember when we did statistics? Before I would do anything, I'd put it in order. This I didn't because it's a regression curve. You're going by the graph. You're going by the plotted points. So even if you don't have the technology, can you tell if there's a correlation just by the steepness or the patternization of the line of regression? Yes. The shallower it is, the less correlation you have. Okay? If you have a zero correlation, that means it's pretty much horizontal. That means you say to whoever is presenting or you presenting, you say, you see, there's no correlation. If there's no correlation, can there be causality? No. If there's no correlation, then you're all over the place. You're not. Correlation means pattern. It means tendency. But that doesn't mean that one causes the other. That's what's causality. You with me easily?
Yes.
Because Anderson has this dumb look on her face, so I just want to make sure y'all okay. All right, what was it says round to 5 decimal places. So somebody give me that. I'll just look at it again. All right, write that down. 0.0077 and 45.247. Because I ain't going to remember. I can't remember a phone number. I have to write it down. 0077. I think I can remember that part. 45.247. Negative 0.0077 and 45 point what? 45 point what?
247.
247. Check answer. Good gosh. Okay. Well, I must have something. I bet you if I put a 0 right here.
One side's right, the other side's wrong.
Okay, what is it supposed to be?
You have to round the 2 decimal places.
It doesn't say. I thought it said round to 5.
For the first one, but for the second one, you have to round to 2.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah. In science and math, we always do that. We always mix where you round. No, you don't. You're not supposed to do that. I disagree with that question on that. How many of you have always heard if you start with 2, you end with 2? You never mix. You don't change horses in midstream. I disagree with that. They should be. Well, I see why they're raising to 4, but if you're going to raise this one to 4, you raise this one to 4 also. Interpret the slope and Y-intercept, blah, blah, blah. Well, we already found the Y-intercept. Y'all found that. It's, I'm not going to read all those. It takes too long. a weightless car will get 0 miles per gallon. A weightless car will get, all right, a weightless car, that's 0. Somebody tell me the slope. It's up there. What is it? 45 point what? 45.25 miles per gallon. Now look at that. Does that make sense? 45.25. We talk about context and we talk about reading the question. I just put it there. Is that the right 45.25? Is that right? Okay. A weightless car. Why'd you laugh?
What was the first number?
Nobody else laughed. Why'd you laugh?
0.00.
It doesn't what?
Negative.
Point.
It doesn't weigh anything. Where is their car?
Zero.
Some of y'all SpongeBob fans. SpongeBob has a car. What's it made out of? No, that weighs something. Bubble. He has a bubble car. That might, but a bubble weighs something. Okay, what's wrong with C? It's not possible. Okay, even though you're saying 0 pounds, the context of the question and your common sense says there ain't no freaking way. So C is not the answer. Now, why did I pick C? I picked C because I wanted to make a point. You can't have a weightless car. Now, could the Y-intercept be interpreted as a weightless car will get 25? Yes. Now, did I say, is it possible? No. I said, could the Y-intercept be interpreted that way? Yes. Now, I don't know what the question's asking. We'll go back to see what the question's asking. Is it not appropriate to interpret the slope of the Y or the Y-intercept? Probably not. Okay? I would take that as an answer. Why? Because if you do interpret the Y-intercept, what will it give you? It will give you something totally what? Unbelievable. And the 0, that's like saying, okay, at 0 years of age, not 0 pounds, at 0 pounds, you're going to be 45 inches. At 0 pounds. It's not imaginable. So I think these two kind of go in hand in hand. This, I've just shown you, makes no sense whatsoever. And then the bottom said, it is not appropriate. I would not use the word appropriate. What word would I use? R, E, A, L, realistic. It is not realistic to use the slope and Y-intercept. Let's look at the first two answers. What am I doing with y'all right now? I'm going through and I'm looking at the answers and I'm going to use the D word. What am I going to do? D, E, D, U, C, E. I'm going to deduce. If I spelled it right. Why do you have to deduce on these multiple? Because the Philadelphia lawyer wrote them. That's why. It all depends on what your definition of is. What did I mean by that? They could change a word in these questions, in these answers, and you get it totally wrong. So you have to go through and look at them and say, okay, what's really happening here? All right, so for every pound added to the weight of a car, gas mileage in the city will decrease. I like that one. Or increase, whatever. But is our slope positive or negative? It's negative. So the slope is telling us that it's going down. Okay? So that may be a good answer. A may be your best answer. Let's look at B. For every pound added to the weight of a car, gas mile will decrease by blah, blah, blah on average. A weightless car will get 45. Now, I like that question too, but the problem is what? A weightless car does not exist. So, my question to you is, out of all those 4 answers, I want you to deduce it down to 2 that are most valid. I'm trying to get this down a little bit. Okay. I want you to deduce it down to 2 that are most valid. I'm going to take my green marker here. Which one makes absolutely no sense whatsoever? Which 2? I heard him, huh? What did he say?
You said the ones that don't make sense?
Ones that don't make sense. Which ones does not make any sense whatsoever?
The weightless one?
Weightless. Now, do you mean anything with a weightless car in it?
Yeah.
Yes. Could I accept D as a correct answer? Yes, I would. But it's not the correct answer. What's the correct answer? A. A is your correct answer. Why? Because it's asking for more information. Okay? This one is a possible answer, but it's very vague compared to the answer that's given. And the answer that's given is A. Should be. Okay? Okay, so for every pound added to it should be right here. Will decrease by how much? 0.01 gallons? I think that's what they're asking. Yeah, because this is the Y-intercept. That doesn't have anything to do because this is the slope right there. And decrease means negative, right? So I would say 0.0077 is what they want there. 0.0077, and you hit check answer. You feel good about yourself, so you don't have to put on too much makeup or wear sunglasses in the gym. A certain gas-powered car weighs 3,500 pounds. Hang on, 3,500. Hang on. All right. A certain gas-powered car weighs, ton and a half, ton and 3/4. Yeah, ton and 3/4. And getting 20 miles per gallon. Is the miles per gallon of this car above average or below average for the car's weight? 35 and 20. Well, there's 2 things you can do here. What can you do? You can look at the graph, or you can do what?
Multiply 3,500 by 0.0077.
What are you doing, though? Tell me what you're doing. You plugging it in? Is that what you're doing? Plugging it into the formula? You're not? Well, look at it. What a certain gas-powered car weighs. Well, what is weigh? That's the weight of the car, right? So look at 3,500 on your graph. Let's go back to the graph. Where's our graph? I thought I graphed it somewhere. There's the graph right there. 3,500 is right here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Hopefully it won't blow it up. Hold on a minute. Okay, there we go. Now look at that graph. 3,500 is right here. 3,500 is saying it gives us what? 20? So I'm going to take my blue marker, and there's 20 miles to the gallon, right? So what is that compared to your line of regression? Above. See how easy it is to do it once you understand it? It's above. And I think is that what you said, above? Okay. So I would say above. So let's go back to our handy dandy question. I would say above. What do y'all say, easily? Appreciate it, easily. Thank you. Fantastic. Always rely on that Easley campus for interaction. Oh my God, what is this, A through Z?
That's the last one.
Oh gosh. Would it be reasonable to use the least squares regression line to predict the miles per gallon of a hybrid gas and electric car. An engineer wants to determine how the weight of a gas-powered car affects gas mileage. Can I compare apples and oranges and get orange? What would y'all say to this one? I don't think you should use a gas-powered car to predict anything to do with a, what? Hybrid gas and electric car. Now, that's my own personal opinion as a person of math. I don't think that makes sense. That's like me taking a group of women and putting them in a room and asking them 10 questions and then trying to predict what the man would say. I mean, look at the question, the context of the question. The question is asking, what's happening to this gas-powered car? And then at the end, it's asking you, it's saying, would it be reasonable to use the least square regression line to predict the miles per gallon of a gas hybrid car? So what can you take out? A and what? D. Because you know A and D is not possible because no. And people say, well, why couldn't you do the women versus the man? Because a woman, okay, I'm going to tell y'all something, man. Y'all realize this? You'll be better off. Y'all ever seen the wiring harness of a 64 Mustang? Or the wiring harness of a car? Take the dashboard off. What is it? Thousands upon thousands of wires. Some of them connect. Some of them go different ways. Some of them have no connection whatsoever to anything. That's the wiring of a woman. Okay? What is the wiring of a man? You ever seen jumper cables? There's two cables. There's a black cable that goes to one end and the other, and a red cable. Okay? Now, a lot of you are saying, what the heck? Just give me a minute. All right? Oh, some of you are saying, well, you're being chauvinistic to women. No. There's pragmatic, and then there's chauvinistic. I'm being pragmatic. Okay? I'm being real. All right? Women are multitaskers. Yes or no? They are.
Yeah.
Men, they have to get their beer first before they sit down and watch TV. Okay? They are very predictable. They are stupidly, if that's a word, predictable. Okay? I am very, very predictable. Women, no. Okay? You got that? You got that? Got that? When you think you can predict what a woman is doing, you might as well forget it. Okay, what has that got to do with this? Trying to compare a gas-powered car to a gas and electric car is trying to compare a man and a woman. Can't do it. So I would say your answer is bare bones basic B. No, because the hybrid is a different type of car. And I bet you'll remember that on the next question when you're asked like this. You'll remember the jumper cables versus the 64 Mustang wire harness. You'll remember it. Easily, y'all with me on the jumper cables? Y'all with me on that?
We are.
Am I wrong or am I correct?
You're correct.
I am. I have yet met a woman that's a pair of jumper cables. They don't exist. Let me see if I'm right. Look over there. It's a miracle. Okay, who's got questions? Now, all I want you to do as far as 4.1 and 4.2, I want you to be on the calculator drill team. I want you to be able to put anything that I give you on 4.1 in the calculator and spit out the answer. Also, I want you to read the questions and I want you to be able to ascertain whether this is going up, whether it's going down, whether it's a negative slope, whether it's a good correlation or a bad correlation. Context, ascertaining, and calculation with the calculator. That's all I want you to do in 4.1 and 4.2. Send me questions in 4.1 and 4.2 that you don't understand, and that means that Thursday we're going to be going over questions. What day is today? Thursday we're going to be going over questions, and that means possibly review of the test. When I cover the test in class, that means I'm going to what? I'm going to assign it. So that means it's going to be due whenever I go over it. So if I don't go over it Thursday, then that means next Tuesday I'll probably. That's what you use to know if the test is due, is when I go over it in class. Any questions? Easily, y'all got questions?
No, thank you.
All right. All you jumper cables and wiring harnesses, have a good day. Any questions for me? Ask.
Bye. See you Thursday. We graduate in 6 weeks, and we just told them she can't graduate. Why? One of her bios didn't come over. No, wait till now. They told her just it's in my class, in my nursing class.
I think you meant that for a while.
I mean, I hate it.
Okay, so y'all staying, so that means y'all got questions.
I have a question about my calculator. When you do the line regression thing, the R and the last one, they don't come up.
That's because you missed the first 10 minutes of class. I'm just kidding. We went over that. Go to hit second 0 and tell me if you see a bunch of words.
Catalog, and then a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay, now arrow down until you get to the D's and you're looking for diagnostic on.
Yeah, diagnostic, sorry.
Tell me when you get to diagnostic on.
Okay.
Okay, hit enter on diagnostic on.
Okay.
And hit enter again. And it should say done.
Okay.
Okay, now do a calculate. Go to stat, calculate, and calculate L1 and L2 and tell me if you see R.